Hey guys, what's up? I am back with another video today, and today we are doing my Chicago Bears mock draft, so make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Bears fans, the most subscribers I've gotten on a video this year has been from my Steelers that got me 23. So let's see if we can get 24 subs on this video. So hit that subscribe button. Don't let the Steelers fan beat you. They already took our second round pick from us, but make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Help a Bears fan out. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment all your thoughts and opinions down below. I want to hear what you guys have to say, so make sure that you do that. Also, make sure that you check out the channels down below. I have College Football Roundup on there. We will be adding some more content to that one as we get closer to college football season. Also, make sure you check out the podcast as well that is associated with College Football Roundup, and make sure you check out the website. So, as all of that information is done, let's get started with today's video. So with this one, I took the little bit more substantial trade package and went a little bit farther down the draft board. So I traded with the Los Angeles Raiders, got the number 7 overall pick, 38th overall pick, 70th pick, a first round pick next year, and a second round pick next year. And I think that this is pretty realistic. I think that looking at their first 3 picks this year, looking at the next 2 for picks next year, I think that's pretty realistic. Moving from 7 to 1, I think that's not unrealistic. So there were some trades that were a little bit unrealistic, like the Texans offered me 2-12, their second rounder, and their first and second next year. So that was obviously unrealistic to get 3 first round picks and 2 of them being this year and moving up 1 spot. But that is the one thing with that. So at number 7 overall, I drafted Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. So let me start by saying this. Smith-Njigba is my favorite wide receiver in this class, hands down. I think that everybody is missing the point that I get that he was injured this year and didn't play most of this year. But guys, this was a guy that single-handedly won the Rose Bowl for Ohio State 2 years ago when they played Utah. The guy had 330 yards. Let me repeat, 330 yards. He is a possible number 1 wide receiver. He played with Justin Fields. He's an Ohio State guy. I don't like Ohio State, but I think this connection helps. I think that this is I don't get why this isn't being talked about more. If the Bears trade out of number 1 and go down to 7 or 9, either with the Raiders or with the Panthers, I think that they should be seriously considering looking at Jackson Smith-Njigba. Or if somehow you got 2 and 12, at number 12, you should be looking at Jackson Smith-Njigba. That is the type of player that he is. And he was injured all this year, but he is just so underrated. I don't get that because there's not a tackle in this class that is elite level, surefire, not going to be a bust like Penei Sewell or something like that. As a Notre Dame fan, if Joe Alt was in this class, he would be a top 10 pick, probably top 5, and the Bears would probably be the team that takes him. This tackle class is just not that good. It has good depth, like Darnell Wright, Matthew Bergeron in the second rounds and stuff like that, Dawson Jones. Those are good second round guys, and they're good value, and I think they can be starters, but solid franchise left tackles, or even right tackles where the Bears are looking at, depending on where you want to put Braxton Jones. No, there just isn't. Either way, let's move on to the next pick. Talking about Ohio State guys, we're going to land another Ohio State guy, and Dawson Jones, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Really thought that this pick was a good pick overall, just because I think he is able to fill the void that was left when the Bears don't have a right tackle, at least not solidified at the moment. All this is prefaced on the simple fact that free agency's not happened, and if the Bears trade with a team and get a tackle, or if they sign Mike McGlinchey or Caleb McGrary, the 2 offensive tackle guys that are probably the highest rated in the free agents class, maybe Orlando Brown's better. But if you're getting those guys, I think getting a guy like Dawson Jones, then that sets your tackle positions. I think that puts you in a good spot, and I like that position that you are in overall. So with pick number 53, I decided to trade out of it, and that pick heads to the Jacksonville Jaguars when I drop 3 spots and pick up pick number 161. So I like this trade down a couple of picks. It didn't miss out on anybody I was too disappointed to miss out on, and got what I was looking for, which is another position of need that I think is an underrated topic of discussion, which is a CB2, because unless if you think Kyler Gordon is your CB2, then maybe you get a nickel in the 4th or the 5th round like the Bears did with Bryce Callahan. But unless if you're doing that and you want to put Gordon in the slot, which I'm fine with putting in the slot, I don't think that he's particularly like so much better at one position or the other. At least from what I've watched, it's kind of like, from watching Bears games, it didn't seem like he blew me away. Like Brisker blew me away, played well last year and stuff like that. But Gordon, he needs some improvement, so I decided to draft Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback out of Miami. Really versatile, really lengthy, really physical, which is just what I'm looking for in a cornerback. You have Jalen Johnson, which is your Prince Amukamara of the secondary. You have Jaquan Brisker, which is your Adrian Amos Penn State product. You have Eddie Jackson, who plays Eddie Jackson. And then you have Tyreek Stevenson, who can play... Jalen Johnson, who can play the Kyle Fuller, off-man, stuff like that, but still being able to play a little bit physical when need be, which is what I think the Bears will be looking for. I think that this guy is a guy that's been rising up draft boards. He's gone from like a 5th-round guy to a 2nd-round guy. I think that this would be a great pick here and address the need that you have in the secondary. So at pick number 64, I have the Bears selecting Isaiah Land, the edge rusher out of Florida A&M. I think that this is a position that the Bears need to address so badly. The edge rushing unit is just... You had 20 sacks. Your leading sack leader was Jaquan Brisker, your strong safety, which, don't get me wrong, I just said previously, he played great. He was a great rookie. Jaquan Brisker, and... I don't know. I'm not going to get worked up over this. I'm not. I'm going to refuse to get worked up over this. But Roquan Smith is number 3 on your sack leaders, and he's not even there for half the season. More than half the season. I'm not going to get worked up over it. Either way, I think Land, he's athletic. He is just all tools, all sorts of traits. Problem is he's a little raw. He's a little raw. It's a 3rd-round pick, so you're kind of taking a shot and hoping that he provides. But my hope is that you're able to get a guy in free agency that can be a little bit more surefire and take the pressure off a guy like Land. Plus, as I will address a couple picks later, I will add another edge rusher that's a little bit more solidified and a little bit more of a higher floor, not as high ceiling as Land. I think can be one of the best edge rushers out of this entire class, period. But I think he also has the ability to be a guy that you cut in 3 years. So, at pick number 70, I selected Kalali Chancey, the defensive tackle out of Pitt. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But Chancey, Cansey, I think. Sorry, Cansey. Just really is a technical, really good, technically sound. Obviously, you're going to get some comparisons of Aaron Donald and stuff like that. He's not Aaron Donald, but I think he's actually, in my opinion, I have him as an early 2nd-round pick, and I'm getting him in the early to mid 3rd round. That is a steal. That is especially when you're getting that big of a gap, a whole round, that's a steal. That's a really big steal. So I think that is a big deal. Putting him next to Justin Jones. Justin Jones is the only guy that I would be okay with starting next year. Outside of that, somebody else needs to be. It's just awful. It's just awful. Excuse me. But yeah, I think this starts to address your defensive line needs. At pick 103, like I said, I'm taking Will McDonald IV, the edge rusher out of Iowa State. I don't think McDonald has the ability, physical talent-wise, to be, just awesome. But I do think that, he is the all-time sack leader in the Big 12, I believe. just a guy that produces. Just a guy that produces. And I think that that's something the Bears desperately need. Just a guy that produces. Travis Gibson is a great pass rusher, but only as a number 3. He cannot be your number 1 pass rusher. And with Al-Quadin Muhammad just not existing on the football field last year, it made Travis Gibson really the only edge rushing presence you had at all. And that put a lot of pressure on him, a lot of double teams, a lot of chip blocks and stuff like that. You just can't have that. So I'm taking Will McDonald. I think that between the two, between Land and McDonald, I think one of them will be a player that you can get a lot of value out of. So at pick number 137, and Bears fans, before you start screaming in the comment section, hear me out. Running back out of Tulane, Tajay Spears. Again, before you start screaming at me. Spears is really good. He is really, really, really good. And I think he is a player that can be electric. And I think I don't want to bring back David Montgomery. I know that I like David Montgomery. And I think that he's a good running back, but I don't want to bring him back. And with all that being said, we're going to move on to the next 2 picks. So at 153 and 156, I took linebackers Dorian Williams out of Tulane and Shaka Hayward, the linebacker out of Duke. Both linebackers are pretty solid. They both do a good job at being... Oh, sorry, other thing I forgot to mention. I traded pick 133 and 220 for picks 153 and 156, just from the Seahawks, just so you know. Linebacker's a position I think the Bears need to add one in free agency that's a veteran. I think they need to add at least 1 or 2 in the draft. And that's part of the reason why I'm like, okay, let's take 2 linebackers. Hopefully one of them will hit. And if one of them hits, then that puts you in a good position. Now we're going to do that same strategy. So at picks number 159 and 161, we're going to be taking Michael Wilson, the wide receiver out of Stanford, and Charlie Jones, Charlie Jones, the wide receiver out of Purdue. So both wide receivers, the biggest thing with them, they're tall, they're lengthy, they're fast, and they're athletic. So I think that between all of that, I think it starts to build a wide receiver core that with Smith and Jigba, with Claypool, and with Mooney, and whatever ragtag guys they bring back, whatever. Again, I'm not gonna get into much of a rant. I'm trying not to. But I think that both of those wide receivers really help to fill that. So that's going to recap today. Make sure that you hit the 2 videos down below. Will be a playlist of all my other mock drafts, and hit the subscribe button up here. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of March. As always, have a great day. Bye.